Coming up on Global Business, President Xi stresses food security and farmland protection in a high-level meeting on agricultural affairs. China released a key guideline outlining strong policy support for the country's private sector. And top NASA climatologist warned that this July is on track to become the hottest month ever recorded. Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Business here on Cgtn. I'm Guanxing in Beijing. And first up in the program, China's Central Commission for Financial and Economic Affairs held a meeting to discuss farmland protection and the transformation and utilization of saline alkaline land. General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee Xi Jinping presided over the meeting, and Wang Haiyang has more.
Chinese President and General Secretary of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee, Xi Jinping, urged greater efforts to strengthen farmland protection and quality. He made these remarks at a Central Commission for Financial and Economic Affairs meeting, where several departments report their work. China is aiming to keep expanding its agricultural production space. Officials said despite initial achievements in curbing cultivated farmland contraction over the past decade, China's task of farmland protection is not lighter. They reiterated that the red line of about 120 million hectares of farmland cannot be breached. Officials also stressed the need to increase agricultural productivity. First, farmland, especially permanent basic farmland, should be turned into modern fertile land capable of producing high and stable yields despite drought or flooding. Second, abandoned land and non-conventional farmlands should be utilized. Third, more investment is needed in sci-tech research in fields tackling natural constraints, and China should explore effective development models. Xi Jinping also urged comprehensive efforts to tap into the potential to utilize saline alkali land. Officials at the meeting reviewed and approved a set of guidelines on promoting these efforts. They agreed it was important to select and breed crop varieties tolerant to saline alkali environments and provide effective treatment methods for saline alkali land. Wang Haiyang, Cgtn.
An official at the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs said earlier today that in the first half of the year, wholesale prices of grain and food were flat thanks to ample supplies, and that food inflation will remain stable for the rest of the year. Grain production performed well in the same period of the year, with the Purchasing Managers Index of leading agricultural businesses expanding at a comfortable 54.2%. Farmers saw their per capita annual income jump more than 7% to over 10,500 yuan, higher than their peers in the cities. And now for more insights on China's agriculture production, let's bring in Liu Zhixing, a senior fellow at Renmin University's Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Liu. So China aims to secure 120 million hectares of arable land to ensure food security. So how great a challenge is this red line?
I should say this red line is very important. This is not a red line, but also a deadline for China's economy. As we know, this 120 million hectares, the arable land is the minimum quantity. That is already longer. I remember 10 years before they set up such target. But now in the past 10 years with the population growth and also the industrialization in China, some things has been already greatly changed. So that's the minimum. The arable land is really very challengeable for at the moment for China's further recovery of development, especially for the huge population and other factors that influence this arable land. As we know, in the past years, also in some for the green project and also for some other special purposes, for instance, house construction. In some regions and areas, they have already broken such limits. So this way that the central government has reiterated the importance to keep the red line is quite important. This is our lifeline for the security of our food supply. The food supply is the most important thing, that we should have enough land to cultivate, to have the greens. In order to get this purpose realized, I think we should have really put more efforts to safeguard our guidelines and also the principle how to promote the modern ruralization, this agriculturalization could be modernized again in order to get a better result of this agricultural product.
Mm-hmm. And talking about providing food for 1.4 billion people, agricultural productivity is also vital. Investing in agri-tech is also seen as important to raise productivity. In your view, how much potential is there to boost the yields through new technologies?
I should say that the potential is unlimited. When we see that what we have experienced in the past 20 or 30 years, thanks to the efforts made by scientists in China like Yuan Longping, they used some special technology and also agricultural technology to raise the use of the hybrid rice in order to get more grains yields and from the land. Actually, as we see the news that some African leaders already pay tribute when they visited China to say hello to Yuan Longping, because this is really great contribution. From one side, we show that how important and potential the high technology can improve and can boost the agriculture, how to help the people to safeguard the supply of the food. So this is a very important thing, not only the yield of this grain or of the product, but also from the quality, from against the disease, against the extremist weather, for instance, hot winds or the cold winds and high snow storms. All this can be resisted by this high tech. In this way, that we should have a better, for instance, weather forecast and disease prevention measures in order to get a better result in agricultural product. Of course, to improve this and boost the productivity and the quality of the products are most important thing.
And talking about one of the potential outcomes from technology upgrade, a new guideline on utilizing saline alkaline land has been approved. Why is the treatment and restoration of this type of land being emphasized now, and what benefits can this bring to China's agricultural sector and food security?
I should say that there could be a very great importance for the benefits of the whole country, not only for the huge population, but also for the future development of our economy. So, for instance, China has already struggled for over 70 years against the land for saline and also alkaline, because at the coastal areas and also in some western part of China, this contaminated land has put great potential for China's food supply. As we already know that China has 120 million hectares arable land, but already almost 100 million already hectares belongs to the contaminated land. So this is a very huge a number. So beside the 120 million hectares is good for cultivate, for green product. But we need to expand and to enlarge all this secure the land to have more possibilities, to have more product. That's why the central government has paid a great effort to modify or to make its quality improved or to transform this contaminated land into arable land. So as I know that already 1.5 million mu that already transferred to the arable land. This is a great achievement. That means that besides 120 million hectares, we should have 130, even 40 million hectares that for safeguard our food supply. So this is a very important thing for our country. This is really a great benefit for the future, not only for today's China, but also for the future of China.
And that goes a long way to help secure China's food safety. But thank you so much for your analysis. And that was Liu Zhixing, a senior fellow at Renmin University's Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies for us. And now we're heading for a short break, still to come on Global Business. Boosting China's private economy would take a closer look at a key guideline outlining strong policy support for the country's private sector.
China's GDP grew 5.5% year-on-year in the first half of 2023, despite global economic headwinds.
Industry production, manufacturing investment, and the infrastructure investment actually came in stronger than expected. Momentum seems to be stabilizing.
I think the second quarter is showing some improvements over the first quarter, but overall it is showing a steady picture as she grows as well.
Major drivers like consumption and services are instilling confidence that the economy's rebound is sustainable.
Yeah, consumption and service normalization is a key driver for China's post-reopening recovery story for this year.
But if you look at the sequential improvements, so it's really showing that growth has stabilized.
Looking ahead, how to sustain China's economic expansion and what will be the policy priorities?
From policy perspective, some more meaningful measures need to be taken to support the demand side. I think 5% is still achievable. Our forecast for this year is still 5%.
Join us as we go beyond the numbers to track China's growth momentum as the country revitalizes its economy and set a course for high-quality development. Only on BizTalk, only on Cgtn.
Welcome back. National Development and Reform Commission said that it will soon roll out a series of policy measures to encourage private investment and support private firms. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology pledged to remove barriers hindering the construction of a unified national market and promote fairer competition. The ministry added that it will continue to increase support for specialized and sophisticated small and medium-sized firms to boost their development. All of this comes after China issued a top-level document for promoting the development of the private sector, which details 31 measures, such as supporting better access to funding for private businesses and reducing market entry barriers. The guideline to support private firms has been widely welcomed by business leaders and academia as it addresses concerns and outlines the direction of future development for the sector. Take a listen.
The clear guidance of the announcement has consolidated entrepreneurs' confidence and expectations on the high-quality development. We will strive to do a good job in balancing both international and domestic markets.
The guidelines highlight the importance of high-quality growth for private firms. We will pay more attention in the future to improving the independent innovation ability in science and technology and carry out more research on key core technology.
The guideline has answered most concerns among private firms, including protection on property rights, support for entrepreneurs and companies' financing issues. The enterprises should set up a clear schedule to push forward the completion of the measures.
And Chinese authorities will continue to broaden overseas investors' access to the Chinese mainland's capital markets, according to a set of draft measures issued by the National Financial Regulatory Administration on Friday. The regulator said it plans to allow foreign non-financial institutions to invest in asset management companies on the mainland. The move, according to the regulator, aims to strengthen regulation on non-banking financial institutions and promote the opening up the Chinese capital markets. The draft measures are soliciting public opinions until August the 21st. As Asia's largest public fund market, worth almost 28 trillion yuan, China has proved a magnet for foreign financial institutions. As of the end of May, more than 10,000 mutual funds have been released in the mainland. Our reporter Zhang Shixuan talked to two of them and finds out more about the attractions.
Foreign financial institutions have long had a presence in the Chinese mainland's financial world. But the market in public mutual funds is a new one for the overseas firms. Having been in the mainland market for almost 30 years, UK headquartered Schroders is the latest to have established a wholly foreign-owned public fund management company here.
We have observed many opportunities for excess returns in the Chinese stock market, namely the alpha investment that the asset management industry refers to. From a global asset management perspective, China has become a highly attractive market, considering its highly overall savings rate and low pension savings rate per capita, together with the demographic trends as well as pension and wealth management demands.
China scrapped foreign ownership caps in its mutual fund industry in 2020, and since then it has been speeding up approvals. The regulators have now welcomed 4 foreign asset managers to open new fully owned retail fund businesses. With their new mutual fund licenses, some have already made successful launches of their public products. U.S. asset manager Neuberger Berman last November celebrated the opening of its retail fund business in China. So far, it has already released 2 public mutual fund products.
The successful launches not only allow us to start building our track records with a decent size, but also it's our first entry to the main distributors within China. For example, our first fund had more than 20,000 investors, which the number is quite surprising to our shareholders. And they rarely have public mutual funds have that many investors in the first year. But versus the population size and the wealth size of China, it's still very tiny. So that's why we do think this market has great potential, even larger potential than the US market from our perspective.
Neuberger Berman was the second foreign asset manager after BlackRock to run a wholly owned public fund company on the Chinese mainland. Data from the Asset Management Association China show that assets under the management of China's publicly offered funds totaled almost 28 trillion yuan at the end of May, and that 47 of the companies in the market are partially or wholly owned by foreign firms, accounting for almost 1/3 of the total. Zhang Shixuan, ICS for Cgtn Shanghai.
And now we're heading for a short break. Still to come on the program. Top NASA climatologist warns that this July is on track to become the hottest month ever recorded.
We are all connected. Across borders, across continents, connected by ideas, a shared humanity. Stay connected.
Moving on to the climate. As multiple places in the northern hemisphere are enduring severe heat waves, top NASA climatologist Gavin Schmidt warned that this July is on track to become the hottest month ever recorded on Earth. Schmidt's prediction was echoed by the Copernicus Climate Change Service based in Europe, which said last month was the hottest June on record due to El Nino and other climate change factors. Southwest America, Italy, Spain, Greece, and Romania are among the hottest regions, with the temperatures surpassing 40 degrees Celsius in recent days. The El Nino weather pattern usually stirs up temperatures and rainfall in countries around the Pacific Ocean, thus affecting grain yields in major food exporting countries in the region, as well as food prices. For example, the world's leading rice exporter, India, has suspended outbound shipments of its non-basmati white rice as heavy monsoon rains caused some grain supply swings and price hikes in the domestic market. However, as El Niño's influence varies depending on geographic locations, some places might have more favorable weather conditions and higher than usual grain yields, and that's why El Niño alone has had very limited impact on food prices globally. As Europe continues to bake this summer, the hot, dry weather has resulted in smaller harvests. Energy supplies are also under pressure due to increased consumption. And for more, let's cross to Evangelo Sipsas in Athens. Hi there, Evangelo. What's the impact of the current heat wave on Europe?
Well, this heat wave, I have to say, it's the second one so far here in Europe, especially in the parts of the Mediterranean, like Spain, Italy, Greece, Cyprus, but also, as you mentioned, Romania as well. It does have a great impact, and if we break it down, we see that it does have an impact, first of all, in tourism, because there's a number of countries. Just recently, the Foreign Ministry of the United Kingdom has issued a warning for its travelers to avoid countries like Greece, Spain, or Italy because of these high temperatures, possibilities of perhaps fainting or causing any other health issues. So that is impacting the tourism economy. But as well, we have issues in the power grid. The power of the country is struggling as it's intensifying. It needs more energy for the air conditioning, for electricity to be used, and especially in the areas that are mostly dominated by tourists, which are the islands. The islands are heavily reliant on the mainland of Greece for it to transfer electricity, and a lot of times during the peak hours of the day, those heat hours between 12 local time until 5, we see a lot of disruptions in electricity in some parts of the islands, which is causing a lot of issues for people who have produce or any other types of products, especially when it comes to food. But also, as you mentioned, grain issues, grain products. Here in Greece, it's the second year in a row that we're having disruptions in crops growth. The country is quite heavy actually on agricultural, from grains to corn, even cotton as well, and tobacco. But all that, due to this heavy weather now, to this extreme heat wave, is causing disruption of the crops grow. So it's now resulting in the country to import more grains and more products from other parts of the world, resulting to higher prices in the days to come and in the months to come. Now, we haven't seen the impact of that yet in our wallets, but as the specialists here in Greece are saying, because of this heat wave, we will experience that sometime in fall, as the chain supply will continue. Because as meteorologists are saying, this heat wave is expected to last sometime also through August as well. So if that does happen and we do see more imports from abroad, then we'll also feel that in our pockets, but also in the shelves of the markets of the products that we're going to be buying.
Well, thank you for all that information. Now, Evangelo Sipsas for us in Athens. Climate change is threatening the future of global rice production. Warmer temperatures and rising seas are cutting rice harvest yields. Scientists from the International Rice Institute in the Philippines are breeding rice varieties that can survive climate change. Gretchen Malad reports.
Rice is a food staple for over 4 billion people across the globe, but the future of global rice supply hangs in the balance. Extreme heat and drought produces rice harvest yields. Rising seas inundate low-lying rice fields with salt water. Extreme rainfall destroys hectares of paddy fields. Many farmers are also shifting to other agricultural crops to survive and make a living. Dr. Johar Ali is the head of the hybrid rice technology at the International Rice Research Institute, or IRRI. He says in the next decade, the effects of climate change will get worse, and it could threaten global food security.
Rice is in a different kind of challenge here, and we have to produce more food with the limitation of time, the imports, and all sorts of challenges that is emerging with the climate change and other things. So in that perspective, to put the food on the table in the next decade would be the biggest challenge that the scientists will face.
Scientists at the Rice Institute have been developing rice seedlings that can survive extreme changes in climate. This rainout shelter mimics drought conditions. This is where they experiment different kinds of rice seedlings that can still thrive with less water. There are also paddy fields where they inundate with water to test seed varieties that can endure and recover from flooding. They are also at the forefront of cutting-edge rice farming innovations.
I'm here inside the International Rice Gene Bank, which is the largest repository of rice seeds in the world. There are around 132,000 sample sets here. The temperature is around 2 degrees Celsius, which help preserve the seeds to last up to 40 years. This is also where scientists select the genetic traits of seeds used to breed varieties that can survive unforeseen climate shocks.
Dr. Ali has worked and learned from Chinese agronomist Yuan Longping, who is the father of hybrid rice. He says the fundamental of Longping's two-line hybrid rice technology has been the basis for most of their research. Dr. Ali is leading the Green Super Rice project at the Rice Institute. They have successfully developed 35 hybrid rice varieties that are resistant to extreme climate shifts. 26 varieties are now being used in farms across the Philippines.
If you put your rice in the shortest duration and highest yield, that means you are putting your plant 110 days, less than 110 days, it should mature and yield. And at the same time, the water required would become reduced, the land utilization will be less, and yield should be higher than.
Traditional rice cultivation methods contribute around 10% of man-made methane emissions globally. The Rice Institute is now developing rice varieties and innovative methods that could help lower greenhouse emissions. Gretchen Malalad, Cgtn, Laguna Province.
The second CMG Forum has opened in Shanghai. The forum is hosted by the China Media Group and the Shanghai Municipal People's Government, and Wu Bing reports.
Calling for media organizations to take joint action to boost global cooperation. That's the message from the second China Media Group, or CMG Forum. The joint initiative was released in Shanghai by CMG together with international media organizations including the Asia-Pacific Broadcasting Union, the Arab States Broadcasting Union, the African Union of Broadcasting, the European News Exchange, and the Latin American Informative Alliance.
And I think collaboration is key because we are seeing this throughout all industries, not only media industries, but throughout all industries. Because we need to share experiences, we need to learn from each other. And I think CMG, through their different media entities, is showing the world how well we can do together.
The theme of this year's forum is opening up, inclusiveness, mutual benefit, join hands on the path towards modernization. Many have praised China's modernization path, especially the country's efforts in opening up its economy.
Being from Denmark, we benefit from that openness. We enjoy it, and we think also that mutual cooperation that Denmark and China have, also here in Shanghai, is really, really rewarding.
Given the nature of global challenges, some visitors have praised the theme this year, saying there's a need for countries to work together.
I hope you can get everybody to do that. The world needs it. I know that closing off is not good for anybody. So I hope that China and the West continue to open and work together for more prosperity.
At the forum, 4 of CMG's latest works were also announced, including the group's audio and video AI model, a trailer for the multi-language documentary Decoded, China's Modernization, China's ESG report, and a world tour of an exhibition called Journey Through Civilizations. Initiated by China Media Group in 2022, the CMG Forum aims to build a platform for exchange and cooperation between media organizations around the world. 3 sub-forums will be held during the second edition, covering opportunities under global changes, China's high-quality development, and media responsibility, among other topics. Wu Bin, Cgtn, Shanghai.
And that will do it for this edition of Global Business here on Cgtn. Thank you for being with us. The Point with Liu Xin is coming up next. Stay tuned.
This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.